Hi sir, good day. My name is Jason Vinuan from USIT Block A4. So for this assessment, I'll be explaining why from handling and validation are really important in web development, especially when using Laravel. So sentence number one, why is for why is form handling and validation important in web development, particularly in terms of data integrity and security? So form handling and validation matter because they keep the data clean and secure. When users submit a form, we need to make sure the data they type is correct, like proper emails or request fields. It also helps protect the website from attacks like SQL injection or people trying to mess with your database. And number two, what are some key Laravel features that help prevent security vulnerabilities such as SQL injection and cross-site requests for disease when handling from data? Hmm. So Laravel has built in features to help with that. For example, it has CRF protection that stops fake form submission, and it automatically uses provide statement to prevent SQL injection. So even if someone tries to input a harmful code, Laravel hits it. And number three, explain how you would create a basic form in Laravel using the template handle submission and control. For example, how you define the region. So, when creating a basic form, I use a blade template for the design, then make a route that connects to a controller. In the controller, I usually write something request validate email and to make sure that I, to make sure the input is valid before saving it to the database. And number four, how can customizing validation error messages improve the user experience in our web application? Write an example how you would customize validation error message in the template. So in number four, custom error message makes the experience better for users. Instead of showing a plain error message, I can say something like, please enter a valid email address. It feels more friendly and helps users to fix it easily. And lastly, for number five, what are the benefits of centralizing validation logic in Laravel application and how it does contribute to the maintainability of a web application? Um, Centralizing validation in Laravel, like using a form request, keeps the rules in one place. That way, it's easier to manage updates and issues, which makes the whole project more organized and maintainable. And that's for all for assessment one. Let's move on to assessment two. Question number one, what is the rule of middleware in Laravel authentication system and how does it help protect routes and resources from unauthorized access? So middleware in Laravel acts like a security checkpoint. It is like you can access certain routes. For example, using author mid, the author mid, middleware, um, it makes sure only logged in users can open private page like that. Number two, how does Laravel build in authentication system, user registration and login, including the management of session tokens and validation of input of data. And um, Security is super important in login registration form because that's where the hackers usually try to attack. Laravel protects against SQL injection and XSS by taking data and validation automatically. Okay, number two, how does the Laravel built authentication system handle user registration and login, including the management of session tokens and validation input? So, Laravel built authentication system makes login and registration really easy. It handles validation, saves user info to the database, and it uses session tokens to remember user while they're in the game. And number three, explain the importance of security measures like SQL injection, presentation, and protection in login registration form. How does Laravel assist in preventing these vulnerabilities? So security is super important in login registration form because that's where hackers usually attack or try to attack. Laravel protects against SQL injection and XSS by keeping the data and validating input it automatically. And number four, how would you create and apply custom middleware in Laravel to restrict access to specific bugs based on user rules, such as an admin only? If I want to make my own middleware, for example, only admin can access a page, I jump a PHP artisan, make middleware admin middleware. Then I add a logic to check the user role and only allow the admin to proceed. And lastly, number five, in terms of escapability, how can Laravel authentication system be adapted to handle a growing number of user and requests? Give an example, management of customer authentication. When it comes to escapability, Laravel's authentication can grow with your app. You can use a token-based authentication for APIS or manage a session in a database to handle more user without flowing through. That's for all for assessment number two. Proceed to assessment number three. Number one, what are the key steps involved in implementing the create operation in Laravel, and how do grade use and handling forms in this process? So, for create part of good, um, uh, I make a form in grade where users can add in data, like um, filling out or post a product. Then the form sends into the info to a controller that saves it in the database. And number two, explain the importance of the data validation, solicitation, and cloud operation. How does Laravel ensure security when handling user input during these operations? So, validation and solicitation are important in code because we don't want to we don't want bad and invalidate data getting in. Laravel automatically checks and cleans input using validate function. And number three, describe how you would implement the read operation in Laravel and retrieve and display data from the database using both the story method and the blade view. So for number three, um, for the read operation, I usually use something like model of and open parentheses and the controller to get the data and then display it um, in the blade using a loop. That's how you show records on your page. And number four, what is the purpose of the update operation in Laravel and how would you handle submissions to modify existing data and tries in the database? The update operation lets users edit existing data and let the current info in a form, and when they submit it, Laravel updates the database within new values. And lastly, how can you ensure the database is operational Laravel secure and prevent additionally or unauthorized data removal? What are role does validation play in this process? For delete, I always make sure it's secure and I add SRF protection and confirmation from what user don't accidentally delete something. It also prevents other sites from deleting data without permission. That's all for assessment number three, and let's proceed for the assessment four. What is the purpose of Google reCAPTCHA and how does it enhance the security of web application when integrated with form? So, Google reCAPTCHA is used to check if its user is human or a robot. It protects form from spam or automated submission. You've probably seen the I'm not a robot in Google or checkbox before. Number two, describe the process of obtaining and registering the capture site and secret keys from Google. What is important to update the domain when removing the local host to production environment? How would you integrate the capture into Laravel form? Alternate steps to install the necessary or other capture services form. To use the captcha, I go to Google Captcha site, register my domain, and get the site key and the secret key. When moving from localhost to real site, I need to update domain, make sure it works properly. Number three, how would you integrate the Captcha into Laravel form? I know, that's also an. Number four, explain how you validate the Captcha response in Laravel. What are the rule the Captcha secret keys play in the middle of the validation? When the form is submitted, Laravel validates in the captcha by checking if the Google using the secret key. If it passes, that means it's real user and it's not a robot or bot. And lastly, for number five, how can customizing error message for failure captcha attempt improve user experience? Provide an example how we do handle the captcha error on Laravel controller. So, customizing error message help user understand what went wrong. For example, instead of just saying error, I can say, please confirm you're not a robot. If the verification fails, it's clear and more user friendly. And that's also. And for inclusion, so overall, these are assessments show how Laravel really focus on both functionality and security. From validation and middleware, all the way to code operation and the captcha. Everything works together to keep data safe and the user experience smooth. It's important as a developer to understand not just how to build forms or login system, but also how to protect them. Laravel makes that process easier and more organized. And that's also. Thank you for watching my video.